so I'm covering it today, but it's just a story that stood out in my mind because of the corruption surrounding it and the previous foreshadowing, really, that went into all of this. Obama administration granted citizenship to 2,500 Iranians during nuclear deal, said an Iran official. And I'm not covering this because of the foreshadowing of Q, which I will get to, but there's quite a few points in this interview that were just astonishing. Now, the interview was given by this guy, who's chairman of Iran's Parliamentary Nuclear Committee and a member of its National Security and Foreign Affairs Committee. He claims government officials' family members were included in the 2,500, and it was done as a favor to senior Iranian officials linked to the president of Iran, which is still the current president. And it sparked competition over Iranian officials on whose children would benefit from the scheme. So that last bit about sparking competition shows that the citizenship being granted did have some effect on the Iranians. It wasn't just some frivolous deal. I mean, the deal was made during the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action negotiations, which is better known as the Iran deal. And that was reached in July 2015, and Trump withdrew from that in May of this year. When Obama, during the negotiations about the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, decided to do a favor to these men, he granted citizenship to 2,500 Iranians, and some officials started a competition over whose children could be part of these 2,500 Iranians. If today these Iranians get deported from America, it will become clear who is complicit and sells the national interest like he is selling candies to America. So these Iranians are realizing that Obama didn't necessarily mean they could live in America forever, because he couldn't be president forever, and obviously they're becoming enraged by this realization. So now let's take a look at this Q post from May 13th. Will Iran expose the names of corrupt officials? And then back to the article posted up yesterday. It should be stated exactly which children of which authorities live in the United States and have received citizenship or residency. He estimated that between 30 and 60 were studying in the US, while the rest of them were working in the country against our national interests. Now, let me be clear, okay? I'm not villainizing all Iranians. There's certainly some that have adopted the Western culture and grown to love it. But there are individuals that happen to be of Iranian descent that are working against national interests, and they need to be named and deported for entering the US with malevolent intent against us. Not to mention, if some of the people were Iranian government officials' families, who are the others? And Obama did not select specific Iranian government officials to have their families come to the US. I mean, this is seen through the Iranians' internal competitions over who got the citizenship. And the way that I see it, Obama either didn't care about who these other people were, and he delegated the citizenship passes to his cohorts in Iran to just hand out to any helpers that they may have needed, or he gave them out to specific people, and that's why they weren't government officials' family members. They were other specific people Obama wanted to bring in. And then you start to wonder what kinds of people Obama would bring in. And you have to think, is this really something that's good for the country? Is this really a good situation that we have here? And I'm not getting at religion or skin color or any other superficial trait. I'm getting at culture. Okay, I'm getting right to the core of culture. And it's also worth noting, Fox News analyst and former Obama State Department spokeswoman Mary Harf was dubious of the Iranian official's allegation. This sounds like totally made up BS, she said. Forgive me for my skepticism around an Obama State Department spokeswoman. I mean, what's she going to do, drop the beans on Obama? I tend to think not. And then we have to lay out the likelihood that she would even know about something that Obama was doing that would be considered treasonous or, just generally against the interests of America. But to answer that more accurately, it's worth doing some research into Mary Harf's past. Sure enough, the US State Department has a whole write-up on Mary Harf. She worked under Secretary Kerry, and she worked on the Iran negotiations, communications strategy, and other priorities. Prior to joining President Obama's re-election campaign, Ms. Harf was the Central Intelligence Agency's media spokesperson. she crafted the CIA's media strategy on a wide range of sensitive national security and intelligence topics. Okay, I don't want to keep reading this out to you because it just makes for bad content, but I'll link it below if you want to read through it all. It talks about how close she was to Obama during the 2012 election, and then it goes on to talk about her work for the CIA and how she was responsible for including items in Obama's daily press briefings at times. So I have a strong feeling that she knows what went down. She had all of this intelligence. And on this well-researched premise, I don't take her word as being the final word on any of this. I mean, looking beyond this, the Department of Homeland Security declined to comment. A representative for Obama Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson could also not be reached for comment. The article goes on to talk about how many of the Iranians that are here legally don't want the Iranian government officials to have their kids here. It feels like a slap in the face to those who went through the process the right way. I mean, it's like the illegal Mexicans that don't want illegals here. But that comparison only stands up insofar as culture of origin is concerned. Now, there is one last thing that I want to cover because there is speculation around the legitimacy of the man making the claim. I mean, CBS runs a story saying Zolnour is a hardliner and was using the claim as a cudgel against his more moderate foes in Tehran. And it's a reasonable claim. If he wanted to bring down the current regime, he could spread lies about things benefiting Iran. Here's the thing though, I don't care about what's said back and forth, okay? If names can be produced and dangerous people can be removed from our country, it's all the better. And because Obama didn't grant citizenship to specific people, he would definitely be able to just talk his way out of any corruption or collusion that comes of this. But regardless, let's take like 1/5 of the workforce that was given to the special counsel for this Russian witch hunt, and let's put them towards investigating these supposed Iranians granted citizenship and just see where it leads. I mean, if someone who's the chairman of Iran's Parliamentary Nuclear Committee says something like this, you take it seriously. You don't have to believe it, but you take it seriously, and those aren't the same thing. So, as far as content goes for this video, that's about all, but I'll just recap everything up to this point. So, during the negotiations over the Iran deal, Obama offered citizenship to 2,500 Iranians, some of whom were government officials who could send their family to America. Who are the others? Well, we're not so sure. The chairman of Iran's Parliamentary Nuclear Committee said 30 to 60 kids are here to study while the rest are working against our national interests. And the only voice of dissent that Fox could really find was one of their own analysts who worked incredibly closely with Obama during the time of this nuclear deal, and she had her hands in this nuclear deal. And she's not just an expert in the field of politics. She's directly involved with the story at hand. And she was also CIA before working for Obama. I mean, she's biased whether she knows it or not. You psychologically can't be human and be unbiased after an experience like this. Now, on top of Zolnour making these claims, he said that the names should be released of which officials had children that took advantage of the citizenship deal. And that would be corrupt officials having their names released. So we'll see if names are released in the next few days or the next few weeks or whenever. I mean, in the meantime,